Good day, subscribers. Thank you so much for joining me today. I am Jeremy. This is the Financial Education Channel, and today we're talking about my greatest investment ever. My greatest investment I've ever made, ever in history, ever. And how this is determined is it's the one I made the most amount of money, so the largest amount of money on ever. And that stock is Cabela's. Have you guys ever heard of Cabela's before? Let me know in that comment section. Cabela's is an outdoor retailer, and they build very large stores that have to do with hunting and guns and a lot of different things like that, camping, all that kind of stuff. So I came across this Cabela's, and it was around mid to late 2011. And that's when I started investing in it, and I came across it toward the beginning of 2011. I didn't start actually investing in it until around mid-2011. And I just really liked the business. Now, I will explain to you guys in this video how I determined how this was going to be a huge investment, and this is why I went huge in on the stock. It was my biggest stock for like 2 years running straight as far as the most amount of money I had involved in that stock. And how did I get these great gains? So let's look at what happened with the stock price over that course of time. So I came across, we're looking at the chart here. You see 2010 is very far to the left there. 2016 and currently is way to the right. I came across the stock, like I said, it was in 2011, probably early 2011. I didn't start investing in it until mid-2011. And from mid-2011 up until mid-2012, I was buying all during that period. So if you look on the chart there, I was buying in a range of between $20 and let's say about $28 a share. So my average cost basis, I believe, on the stock was actually $24, $25. Now, how did it become such a successful investment for me? Well, I saw a few things with the business. I started looking into it, and the 2010 annual report is the first annual report I ever read on the company. So that's the one that comes out after the whole 2010 year is over, and that was already into the 2011 at that time, so that was their latest report. Now, what I saw here as a business, I saw 2008 numbers, they did $2.5 billion in revenue. 2009, they did $2.6 billion. 2010, they did a little above $2.6 billion, a little more than they did the previous year. Not substantial in any way. And what I saw was a business that was still able to grow revenue despite a severe recession. That's very big. That's very important. I saw a company that had a net income, look at that net income, that was going up from $82 million in 2008 to $91 million in 2009 to $121 million in 2010. So I saw a company that, despite a very tough economy, an economy that was very weak, that retailers were getting killed as far as net income went, killed as far as revenue went, and Cabela's was still able to grow. That made me, although in that process time, it was kind of a scary time to still invest because they were talking about double dip recessions and things like that. It was kind of a bit of a scary time, but I thought, hey, you know what? Even if this company goes into a recession, they'll still find a way to grow. They can still be profitable. So no matter what happens out there, this is a well-run company. They got their stuff together and their customers are spending money there despite whatever's going on in the macroeconomics. So I saw a very good financial model, and I saw a business that I really liked as far as Cabela's stores. I first came across the idea because I went to a Cabela's store out in Arizona. It was like 160,000 square feet, and I was just blown away how cool it was. The experience was so much different than any other retailer, and that's what captured my imagination to even look into Cabela's in the first place. Then I saw these financials, and I was like, whoa, okay, Cabela's, I like you. So reading across that annual report, I read about retail expansion. I read about a lot of different things, but the one that caught my eye is retail expansion. Given the significant improvements in retail profitability and merchandise gross margins and the performance of our next generation stores were actually much smaller than the current generation stores, which they were building stores at that time like 160,000 square feet to like 300,000 square feet, like ridiculously big, way overly big than what they needed to be. These next generation stores they were building were around 100,000 square feet, which helped out with profitability, helped out with expansion. I really liked that. We are excited that our 2011 will be the year we accelerate retail expansion. I saw that and that line just made me excited because finally they had not really grown retail stores for the last 2 years, really. The recession came and they kind of stalled everything. They relooked at the business and they kind of figured out, hey, you know what? These stores are too big that we're building. They can be much more profitable if we can find a way to shrink the size, get rid of some of the products we have too many of, and still give a great experience. And so that's what I saw with Cabela's at that time. And it really excited me that they could expand, all across the United States. The grand openings for Cabela's are ridiculous. If you guys have ever seen a Cabela's grand opening or been to one, it's the only retailer I know that can get thousands and thousands of people to show up for a grand opening of a retail store. That's ridiculous. It's preposterous. It's, holy smokes, mind-blowing. Thousands of people showing up for a retail store opening. Cabela's is the only one I've ever known to do that. Only one. Only one. Unbelievable what they can do. Now, in this whole retail thing, the reason I saw so much opportunity for expansion is we currently operate 31 retail stores, 30 in only 22 states they were in, and 1 in Canada. So right off the bat right there, I'm like, this company has so much room for expansion. They're only in 22 states. They only have 31 stores total, only 1 in Canada. Canada's a great market for outdoor type activities like fishing, kayaking, camping, guns, all these kinds of things. And I know how, gun crazy the United States is. This is a great retailer as far as if you want the opportunity to purchase weapons and those kinds of things and that type of business. So I looked at Cabela's and I saw the retail expansion, and then I saw one other thing that no one really saw coming. So what I saw was a presidency that was about to come up. So it was Romney versus Obama going into 2012 to see who was going to be the president of the future. There was so much negative publicity around Obama and that he was going to take away everybody's guns and no one's going to be allowed to have guns and all this stuff. And I saw this. And everybody in the industry at that time was actually looking at this as a negative for stocks like Cabela's, stocks like Smith & Wesson, Ruger, all these stocks. And I saw this as the biggest opportunity I've ever seen, probably ever, as far as a stock goes, because this was just going to force people out to get guns. All this fear-mongering, all this propaganda was just building into people's imagination that gun owners were like, shit, I need to go out and get my gun right now. I need to go buy as much ammunition as possible. Obama's going to take away our guns if he's elected. Sure enough, Obama got elected in 2012, re-elected, I should say, and everybody shit their pants. It's a gun owner. And they all went to Cabela's left and right, buying as many guns as they could freaking get their hands on. Ammunition was like sold out everywhere. It was ridiculous. The gun boom that happened in 2012, 2013, we may never see something like that in our lifetime. What a time to be invested in a stock that gets 1/3 of their revenue from guns and ammunition. Holy smokes. I would go to my local Cabela's and whatnot just to see, how business is. And they had huge gun sections. And we're talking guns were depleted down to almost nothing. And there would be hundreds, literally hundreds of people in the guns and ammunition section. Huge shelving where ammunition is usually stacked to the ceiling, depleted down to where 5 out of 6 spots are actually empty for the ammunition. It was like something I've never seen before. And then you read this here this was actually talking about the gun boom back in 2013, 2012. About 1/3 of Cabela's $3.1 billion in sales last year came from firearms, ammunition, and accessories, and a substantial amount of its all-important sales growth came from the gun business. Cabela's first quarter 2013 same-store sales growth was up 24%. Comparable store sales for a company of Cabela's size at that time to be up 24% is like unheard of. That is the most ridiculous number I've ever seen ever. And you want to talk about a stock that all of a sudden went from being a nobody stock to one that everybody wanted to be instantly? That was Cabela's. 24% comparable store sales were up. It's ridiculous. If you're a retailer and you can get 2, 3, maybe 4%, that's really good. If you can get 5, 6, 7% same store sales growth, that is like great. If you get 24%, that's almost like that's like unheard of. unbelievable. The gun boom was like the thing that made me so much money as far as Cabela stock went. It was a thing of beauty for me, absolute thing of beauty. Now, I sold out of the stock I started around late 2013 all the way into about mid 2014 is when I sold out. I sold all my shares in between the high 50s and about the mid 60s. The stock actually peaked at $72.40, so I wish I would have waited until the stock was right at the peak at $72 and sold everything and then got out. The stock dropped substantially after that time period because the gun sales boom was over and Cabela started to disappoint as far as comparable store sales because there was no way they were going to keep up with those type of numbers. It was impossible. They were ridiculous numbers. So Cabela just began to disappoint and went down and down and down. Lucky enough, I had already been out of the stock because I kind of saw that this type of craziness that was going on, it was not sustainable. It was simply a gun bubble. It was a gun bubble. That's all we can call it. Now, for you guys that are interested in Cabela's nowadays, they actually just got bought out or are going to be bought out by Bass Pro. Cabela's agreed to be bought by Bass Pro Shops in a $5.5 billion deal, handing a victory to the activist investor that had been pushing for the outdoor sports equipment retailer to put itself for sale. The offer is $65.50, so actually around some of the dollar amount that I started selling shares around. And it represents a 19% premium of Cabela's most recent closing price. The company said Monday in a closing statement, Capital One is going to take over Cabela's credit card business, and then the retail is going to obviously be taken over by Bass Pro Shops. I kind of saw this deal going for a while. I didn't reinvest in Cabela's just because, although I saw the deal coming and I saw all this happening, I was like, what if the deal doesn't happen? And I don't really want to be in Cabela's because I didn't see big upside to Cabela's anymore at this point. So I didn't get that gain, but at the same time, I'm happy to be out of Cabela's and whatnot. So that was my greatest investment ever, guys. And I think there's a lot to be learned here about kind of having a vision and kind of being able to foresee some things in the future. Now, regardless if Obama would have been reelected in 2012, let's say Romney would have been elected, there probably never would have been that huge gun boom that had comparable store sales going crazy. But would I made money on Cabela's? I believe absolutely. Absolutely I would have. The same store sales and all those things were really good with Cabela's, even if you take out the gun ammunition and those kinds of things. Same store sales are still up 9%. They were still expanding left and right retail stores. So the gun boom just helped me create a massive amount higher of the stock price, 100, 200% gain versus maybe it would have been a 40 or 50 or 60% gain. So regardless, I should have been fine on that one. I hope you guys really enjoyed this story today. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it. And if you have not subscribed, you may want to. I talk a ton about investments and stock market like we did today. We talk personal finance in this channel. In business, I'm an entrepreneur and I give a lot of entrepreneur type tips out there to you guys. Thank you for watching and have a great day.